thank you all for joining. It's a total pleasure to connect. I'm Kwame. I'm the co-founder of a company called Kin, where we use creativity, innovation, and purpose to really unleash brands and businesses as forces for good in the world. And I'm so inspired by the work you've done, and I'm eager to talk about the park bench and get to a really good understanding of what inspired the project, what inspired your collaboration, and what you hope the outcome of it is when people are lucky enough to get to see it. So maybe that's a good place to start, is with some intros, and then I'll lean into one or two questions.
Oh, great. Go for it.
Shannon, do you want to go first?
Oops.
Oh, I think you're right.
I am double muted. Hey, everybody. My name is Shannon Watkins. I am the Chief Brand and Marketing Officer at Aflac. So it is a pleasure to be here with you today.
Awesome. Carl?
Hey, everyone. I'm Carl Reid. I'm the co-founder of Line Forge Animation and producer on the Park Bench animated film.
And of course, Rob.
Hey, everybody. My name is Rob Edwards. I am the writer and director of Park Bench. Before that, I did some stuff at Disney. it was pretty fun. And a TV show called Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Very cool. So Rob, we'll start with you, just because, again, the story was so moving. And I'm curious what inspired it, and what in your mind is sort of the core of this narrative.
Yeah, well, it was interesting because I think when Aflac first approached me, the parameters were, we're going to do a short film. It's going to have a couple of characters, and we want to tell a story about caring. And the first thing that popped into my mind was I was watching the George Floyd protest, and his daughter was on the shoulders of her uncle, and she says, "My dad changed the world." And I thought, wow, the resiliency of that kid, the intelligence, the just like, amazingness of this little girl finding strength in tragedy seemed like a really great place to jump off and tell a fantastic story. So started talking about, maybe this character Bella, and maybe this, maybe she's going through trauma. This duck comes into her life and helps her through it. And as it helps her through, she becomes strong enough to help it back into its life, help it through its own tragedy. And I think that's what we do as human beings, is that we help each other get stronger. It's one of the best things we do. It's one of the most human things we do.
That relationship and kind of that dynamic was brought to life in such a powerful way. I'm curious how the discussions about the iconic Aflac duck, which we'll get to in a minute, and the little girl would play out. Can you tell us a tiny bit more about that?
Oh, well, it was funny. I'll say it's a duck. It's not the duck. so it is a cousin of our friend. So it is, and the notion of it, it's interesting because when you start thinking about, like, well, we have the duck. You're making a film, you're trying to kind of make it within parameters, and we have the duck, and we can design other characters. So first it's like, okay, well, the girl, probably the girl's mother, and then they were good enough when we started saying, like, the father should be very much a part of it, and Aflac was very good about saying, yes, let's also build the father. So you start with those elements, just as a storyteller. Like, how can I tell an exciting story about a little girl, a duck, her mom and her dad? And it was one of those things. I got to tell you, it's terrible when people say, "Oh, did you just struggle through everything?" I went to sleep and I woke up and I was like, "Okay, I have the movie," and I called a bunch of my friends and I said, "Okay, is this crazy? What if this happens and then this happens and then this happens?" And everybody says, "How long did you work on that?" I was like, it just flew into my brain. I'm sorry, it's easy. But yeah, it was just like, I thought about it. It made me cry instantly. It was one of those things that, like, oh my, I was moved by my own thought, my own creation. And then I thought, I can't wait to share this with the world. I can't wait to realize this and share it with people. And like I say, everybody was super supportive all along the way.
I've heard this in the past, and I think you've just brought it to life for me in a very tangible way. How long does it take to come up with a good idea? And someone said to me, oh, 5 minutes. I just don't know when that 5 minutes is going to be.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. 5 minutes, it takes long. Like when you just start, it takes forever. You know, when you've been doing it for a long time and you just start playing around with the puzzle pieces, it happens pretty quickly. And it happens in a way where you're filtering ideas just constantly. You're just really, really quickly going through. I mean, I must have gone through 50, 60 scenarios of what could happen. And then I said, okay, this is the one that I feel strongest about. This is the one that moves me the most, that kind of, carries, that tells a full story. And yeah, and then you go. But yeah, it is like a good idea. A moment from the good idea flies into your brain. And then you say, okay, let me work all the way around this idea and make this thing work.
And it only takes 20 years plus to allow you to make a 5-minute epiphany.
Well, see, and that's the thing, right? Because you think of the idea, boom, and then there's designing the characters, there's going through, we went through 20 20 girls, like, just looking at pictures of girls that could be like this girl, and what she was going to wear and what kind of shoes she would wear. Man, that's a couple of days right there. And then, what does a mother look like? Whatever. What is the furniture in the house? Like, look at the furniture. It's very, there's an African throne in the living room, and there is there are distinct African pieces. The painting, the pictures on the wall. There's the grandparents. This is a very family-oriented family. So there are pictures that go back generations, and the representation of HBCUs in it.
Yeah, I want to talk a bit about that.
That was there in a way that we could kind of like, you don't want to like say, bam, here it is, but you do want to say, look, this is a world where these people met at an HBCU.
Yeah,
raised a family.
And maybe Carl, you can lean in on this too. I think to me that's a bit of the magic of animation as well, and how you can use that to tell a story and create an emotion, and provide all those references that Rob just touched on. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that process?
It's unique in that in the real world, we can pick up context clues by looking around us. And, if we see the cracks in a building and we see, a worn sign, that tells a story. And when you start with the blank canvas, it takes folks like Rob, it takes folks like the team at Magnetic and the Aflac team to be able to pull out and build this rich, world that did not start at the beginning of the film, right? This world happened 20 years ago when the parents met at the HBCU. It happened before then. So all of those things have to be considered, and if done properly, then in under 10 minutes, like this piece, you're able to tell a story that's not just a character moving from point A to point B, and allows you to pick up those context clues. And especially in a time where you can't just say, hey, we met at a HBCU. This is, there's probably one word in the entire film. So, it is definitely calculated, and you have to be super detail oriented as we step into these things.
Yeah. And the thing I'll add to that is that I always find it's really fun. Like when people would watch, girls would run up to me who have just seen Princess and the Frog, and they would say, I saw your film 40 times. And I'd say, like, I'd look at the data, like 40 times, like, yes, 40 times, 30 in theaters and 10 on DVD. And it's like, kids will, kids, I think everybody will watch over and over and over. And what you want to do is reward that and say, okay, if you watch this one time, you're going to get one experience. But if you keep watching it, you'll see the layers. You'll see the books on the shelf that say, treating sickle cell. You'll see that everything in there, everything in the first room there's blood transfusion machine. There's all kinds of, details in there. And all through it, the mother, Rachel, is as she's going in and out of the room, she's treating her husband. Mm-hmm. And she's treating him with, you can see absolutely what is going on. Yeah. Even the balloon that kind of floats around is a character in the movie, and so it just becomes fun for multiple viewings, and hopefully each time you just get a different layer.
The micro details and the macro details, right? And I think one of the things I took away from this, and you touched on it in the beginning, and maybe Shannon, you can expand on this, is just the need to have these counter stereotypical narratives that we're putting out to the world, about, diverse families, Black families, about even, issues around health. So I'm curious to understand from your perspective how that started to shape a little bit of this work.
Absolutely. We are incredibly blessed to have the opportunity to bring this to life on behalf of Aflac, because Aflac's core purpose is to help with expenses health insurance doesn't cover. So those we insure can care about everything else. And when you think about today's landscape, unexpected medical events and the fallout from that financially impact Black and brown communities and low-income communities more than anyone else across this country. So we see it as our responsibility to not only stand in the gap, but help close the gap for those things and situations that are happening across the country. And as Rob mentioned before, the country has gone through a lot, between social and political unrest, all happening within the same very small span. A lot of organizations are talking about it, but they're not putting their actions behind it. And that's what makes us incredibly proud to represent Aflac in this film, and this film being presented by Aflac. We have a 20-year track record of giving back to HBCUs. We have a 26-year history with Aflac Cancer and Blood Disorders Center. And this year we're pivoting to more closely focus on sickle cell. All of those tidbits of data help inform the direction of how we can tell the story of a family going through a medical event and the role of care in recovery. And for us, the duck, the Aflac duck, represents that role of care, so the family, the entire family, could focus on recovery and nothing else. These kinds of stories are important for us because it normalizes Black families, it normalizes medical debt, and it raises awareness of issues like sickle cell that impact Black and brown communities where funding is incredibly low. And if we can help drive education, provide support, and advocate for those who need the help, that's how we see our role. And that's the role that Aflac has played in bringing this film to the masses through Rob's vision and Carl's vision and XP's vision and everybody else who supported this short alongside Magnetic Dreams.
And to me, that's, again, what's so powerful about this film. You're using this incredible emotive story to deliver really important information, but in a very accessible way, and I think, I wanted to ask you about this, just the role of the duck, and how hard was it to sort of trust that asset over to people outside the brand, really, to use it as a character in a story like this.
Our CEO, Dan Amos, literally, he's the longest running CEO past Warren Buffett. He's been the CEO of Aflac, I think, going on 32 years now. And 22 years ago, he founded the Aflac Duck. He created it alongside his wife, Kathleen Amos. The Aflac Duck has never said anything beyond Aflac, but throughout its history as an advertising icon, the role of our Aflac Duck has remained the same. Is to be a helpmate, is to help people through their time of need, and it's to be there for people when they need it the most. And as long as that role and the purpose of our company came through in the work, we trusted Carl, Rob, and the team to do what they know they can do, which is to create magic through a piece of art.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. How important, Carl, is long format storytelling like this in your mind for brands?
You know, nowadays, especially, there is less opportunity to connect when people have so much opportunity to live in the metaverse, to live on, you know, digital, to live in TV and games. And, you know, you can miss the opportunity to connect with people and to connect with communities and become a part of their lives if you aren't at the places that they are, where traditional advertising at one point was sufficient to say, hey, this can help you. You know, now you have to be a little bit more connected to what they're viewing, what they're eating, what they're doing, and actually become parts of their community. And, you know, with someone like Aflac, who is a part of folks' lives, already helping them even outside of their insurance, you know, they already have a direct connection. And through that, through the media, we're able to extend that connection to more touch points.
I know the film was just, you know, accepted into, I believe, Animation Dingle, an Oscar qualifying festival. What's your ambition for the film sort of long term? What's your hope?
When it
yeah, right.
Short category at the Oscars, you know.
That's it. That's it. You know, the sky's the limit, really. I mean, I think, you know, you get a film like this. What's great that we were kind of talking around is that when you move people, you know, that's the best form of storytelling, is to really say, I see you in your pain. I see, you know, we're talking about something nobody talks about first. You know, how many, a large amount of sickle cell movies out there, you know, nobody talks about it. It's one of those things. It's like, even if you have it, you don't talk about it. And so, you know, to bring that to life, also to move somebody, and also to kind of have this really warm friendship story, I think, you know, hopefully that'll just take fire. And I think people will see what it is we're doing, how we're moving people, and it will resonate, and hopefully it'll continue to go and do good things.
Absolutely. And from a brand lens, when we started this adventure, of course, we said we want to win an Oscar. Of course, we said we want this to live in the ethos. Our very first TV spot, the very first one we launched at Aflac featuring the Aflac duck, was titled The Park Bench. And we named this short The Park Bench, paying homage to that very first TV spot that was created more than 20 years ago, that had Black talent on the screen, which most people weren't doing back then. This is our love letter and our legacy to Black creators, to continue that legacy, number one. Number two, it pays homage to our past from an Aflac perspective. And number three, when we gave the team this brief to create this body of work, we gave them the challenge to create culturally connected media. That was the challenge. Because if we are culturally connected in the outputs that we deliver in the marketplace, it's going to stand the test of time. It's going to be iconic, and it's going to be something that is timeless, that, just like Rob said, people are still coming up to him, praising him for Princess and the Frog, and people are still talking about hair love, and will be for years to come. We hope this makes it into that very rare space because the work is culturally connected.
You know, to build off of that, it was great to have the trust of Aflac and XPA to be able to put together a team that not only is connected to the material from a creator standpoint, but also, the family reflects my family. I have, a daughter who, if I showed you a picture right now, you'd be like, okay, I see it. And actually some of those characters are based on people we really know. And my uncle, he struggled with sickle cell his entire life and wound up dying as a side effect of the disease. And I have nieces that are struggling with sickle cell to this day. So being able to be that close to the material, I think helped us build something that we feel reflects our connection to it.
I'll echo what you've all shared. I do think it's incredible that you're able to, through a story like this, normalize something that, I have a cousin that died from sickle cell, when I was quite young. I just think it's one of these things that it's around us. It's rarely talked about. To your point, Shannon, it's underfunded. And yeah, my hope is, but through touching the hearts and minds of the people that see this film, we'll be able to unlock a little bit more investment and focus on solving it as a challenge. And yeah, I have one last question, which is really, how did you get Nas involved with the music? I'd love to talk about that.
Absolutely. The team they used to go off and come up with the fantastic ideas and then bring it back. Then they go back off and come back with fantastic ideas and bring it back. And the last time I saw the cut, I saw very visibly a community, and I heard very clearly jazz tones with a hip hop beat. And I, at that moment, said, we got to get Nas. And, I say it all the time that none of this was supposed to happen. It just happened. And I think sometimes you just get blessings like that from Jesus and you got to rock out. And so XPA's leader, Adolfo, worked with Nas in the past. And it was a phone call. It was a phone call to him and his leadership team to say, hey, we're working on this project. We explained the project to him. We explained who we were as Aflac, but I think he felt a connection with the piece because Prodigy, one of his close associates, also passed of sickle cell. So he graciously agreed to help us with musical direction from the piece. He's been an amazing ambassador alongside Carl and Rob and the complete rest of the team. And we are just so pleased that he is a part of the legacy of this project.
Yeah,
well,
I'll add to that sometimes it's really what's exciting about writing and directing is that sometimes, if you have that gem of an idea that resonates, that, like I say, I start off and I say, it makes me cry. And then I share it with the story artist and he goes, oh my God, this makes me cry. And so, and off you go. And you say like, okay, well, the animators, and they call back, you have this conversation and they're off in Thailand and they're like, this moved us so much. This makes us cry. And then when I'm talking to Nas, he says, oh man, whatever. And with everybody that I talk to, I say, this is not mine. This is ours. This is our story that we're all telling. Please take a piece of it, and make it yours and give, put that into the film. So what you see, what the experience that you have as you're watching it is you're watching people pour their hearts out. You're really watching, like, nobody's just like, oh, taking a check and taking off. Everybody was like, I'm going to do my best work on this movie. And the animation, the way it's colored, the way it's, the design, the music, everything is just far beyond, what you expect. And that's just the joy of it. So Aflac puts their trust in me. I put my trust in people. You feed that down, and then what you get back is just multiplied. It's just tenfold you get back what you play.
And I also think it's our responsibility to carry this on.
Yeah.
And the park bench, that name, the park bench, we believe there's magic in this idea because the park bench is where people go, you feel it. It's where people go to cry, to pray, to think, to be, to connect. And the park bench for all of us is going to be our physical manifestation of our ability to close care gaps across the country. So this is not our stopping point. we see this animated short as our starting point.
Yeah.
So starting this February, we're going to actually take physical benches and plant them across the country and give out care grants to people and communities in need to physically and financially close those gaps across this country.
Amen to that. And honestly, this is such a pleasure and a privilege to have you all on this call. I can tell just from your dynamic and from the passion that you've exuded today why this project is so incredible. And yeah, thank you for bringing it to us. And we're excited to see this film in many more places and not just on sort of brand storytelling. So yeah, with that, I think we'll close. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.